Championships are only the beginning. Dynasty Road.
All right, welcome back to Dynasty Road. I'm Jordo.
I'm EFO. How's it going, man?
And we are Dynasty Road as you know it, as it stands right now. And today we're going to be talking about the top 10 quarterbacks going into the season coming up for Dynasty. I guess it's primarily for Dynasty. I think there'd be some other guys on here if it was just a redraft league, but maybe not. It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
But anyway,
as
usual,
I was looking at it and the rankings for standard, even PPR and Dynasty, their rankings were all about closely the same.
Okay.
So what you're seeing is probably what you're going to get with most. But hey, you know what? Who cares what everyone else says? This is what we think.
That's exactly it. And for the two people that are going to watch this video,
exactly,
we want to give them the best.
We do. We want to give them the full EFO Jordo experience.
All right. So I think our 1 and 2 are going to be fairly the same. Let's get started. I got Pat Mahomes number 1.
Okay.
And who do you have?
Same Mahomes.
Okay.
I've got to go with Mahomes.
And then number 2, I got Josh Allen.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right. So,
I came close to making Josh Allen number 1.
No, I'm telling you. So I have him on my team, and he's extremely consistent. And then every once in a while, he'll throw up a 40-pointer.
Right.
I think he was more consistent than Mahomes was this year.
Yeah, because Mahomes projected fantasy points were supposed to be about 418 if you added them all up. He got about 365 in either a standard league or a PPR league, roughly. So he was about negative 53 points of what he should have done. Josh Allen was negative 3 points of what he should have done.
Ooh, wow.
Josh Allen was projected to get 413 points. He got 410. So the consistency definitely was there. And the last 2 seasons, he's been the number 1 fantasy quarterback. I mean, Mahomes been the number 4 the last 2 seasons. So you really can't complain about that. But
well, I can give you the quick rundown. So, I mean, Josh Allen put up, I'm not going to do the decimal points, but he put up 20, 20, 45, 24, 42, 34, 33, 10 versus Jacksonville, much less.
Yeah.
24, 20, 34, 14, 39, 26, 36, 20, 27. He was there during your playoffs. Oh,
yeah. And Mahomes, he actually had two single-digit games, I think it was, last season.
And I just want to look at him right here. So he had that. He hit 40 twice. I mean, he's still he had 2 single-digit games, and then he had a 12 and a 16, another 12. And then everything else was super solid.
Right. Yeah. I think they kind of figured out some things towards the end of the season, which, almost a 30-point game, a 20-point game, 21, 26. Like, yeah. So, I mean, but I know what Josh Allen gives you. I don't think I'm ready to make him number 1 yet.
Well, here's the thing. Buffalo, you don't really trust that their offense is stable.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is they kind of rely too much on Josh Allen. They need some sort of running game.
Yeah, Singletary's not cutting it.
No, they need some sort of somebody to relieve him when they need a key run, because they're relying on Josh Allen to do that. And he's going to get hurt.
Right.
It's plain and simple. He's going to get hurt if he keeps having to do that. And it could
he's
be
not a bad passer. It's not like he can't throw the ball where it's like, oh, no, we want you to run, Josh. Like, no, please don't throw the ball. You want him to throw the ball. Like, I mean, he just is one of those guys that his legs can be a nice weapon on the secondary, but he's a good passer. It's not like he's not a bad passer, but you're right. I think having a little bit more, a better play in the wide receiver and definitely a better running back will definitely help him. And I would be willing to sit there and make him number one.
Don't you trust, even though Kansas City had a little bit of some bumps in the road last year, don't you trust their offense a lot more than Buffalo's?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
and it's just because they've done it. They've done it in the past. But at the same time, it's like, you know, he is consistent, you know, like he is going to put up points. And, you know, I just can't make him number one yet. You know, he ends up being the number one quarterback again, or number two quarterback. Yeah. You know what? I'll bump him up over Mahomes in fantasy, like in any kind of fantasy, you know? I mean, he's only 26 years old. So it's like, yeah.
Josh Allen gets a lot of hate. He gets a lot of hate from multiple angles, multiple sources. And I don't know, like, I mean, I think a lot of people were expecting him to have a regression this year and not be able to produce what he did in 2020, previous season, 2020.
Yeah.
But he did.
Which, I mean, you know, he ended up being the number one fantasy quarterback, was in the MVP race. I mean, so it's like you weren't expecting that from him. So yeah, a regression makes sense, but he just kept it right up again.
Okay. So fair enough. I don't think there's much to argue about there. This is where it's going to start to get interesting.
Probably.
And let's do this for this episode. Before the other person tells who their person is, let's see if we can guess who the next pick is for the other person. So for you, I think you gotta have Kyler Murray as maybe your number 3.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to say you have Herbert.
Okay. So let's see how well we know each other.
All right. Number 3 for me, Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. Okay. Yeah. And it was Herbert for me.
Well, Herbert for you.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Let's see. So
for Burrow.
Yeah, right. I think he's going to build off of this year. I think with his consistency, with that wide receiver there,
Jamar Chase.
You know, he was the 7th best quarterback this season in fantasy. I mean, he had some stinker of a games.
Mm-hmm.
He did, but he was consistent too. Again, he was somebody who he actually did a little bit better than what his fantasy projection was for the year.
Mm-hmm.
He was about 9 points over, which, I mean, he closely hit his projection. He had one game against Cleveland where he was in the single digits, but he also hit close to 40 twice towards the end of the season, and they just benched him.
Yeah, he
just benched him the last game. Yeah.
If you were in the semifinals, so week 16 he was 46 points, week 17 he was 42.
Yeah. And that's our standard. Is that our league?
In our league, yeah.
Yeah, I went with a more like standard league because I know ours is kind of skewed a little bit, but
we get 6 points for touchdowns. That's about it.
Right.
About 25 yards.
That's why, like, I mean, these ones are like, it's 38 points, 34 points.
All right.
So those few extra points, you know. But
Okay. Yeah. So
so it's like, but he was very consistent, and I think he's going to improve on that. I think the biggest thing I think for him was just his offensive line.
mhm,
You know, because he got sacked constantly, and
yeah.
If me and you can sit here and see that, I'm hoping that the organization can see that, and them almost making it, winning it, the Super Bowl. Maybe if their offensive line was just a little bit better, they actually could have won. They have two decent wide receivers. They have a really good running back. Their tight end did get injured toward the end of the year, but I mean, he's decent too. So it's like, I think he's going to make that step. And I kind of trust him in his offense and his coaching staff a little bit more than some of the other guys.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So with Herbert, I don't know. I just like him.
Yeah.
I like his offense. I kind of like that he stepped in. Like, he wasn't really planning on starting his rookie season. And then the guy got hurt. Tyrod Taylor got hurt. And he stepped in and I just like him. I think he's got Eckler. He's got Keenan Allen. Who's their tight end?
Higbee? Or is that Los Angeles Rams?
I think that's the Rams. I forget. But anyway, I think he needs a couple more weapons around him. Maybe their offensive line needs to get a little bit of improvement. I don't know who their left tackle is, but
Cook.
Jared Cook.
Yeah, that's their tight end.
Yeah, so they need an upgraded tight end.
Yeah.
So I just like him. I think he's a solid guy to build your team around if you need a young quarterback for your dynasty team.
Yeah, no, I can't really disagree with that. I mean, he is a gunslinger. He Mike Williams, they might lose him, but there's a couple of other wide receivers out there that I think are a little bit better than Mike Williams. That I'd rather see them bring in.
Another thing, EFO, is that in his rookie year, I had a chance. They were on TV a lot, and they lost a lot of close games.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of close games, and it wasn't his fault. It wasn't like he was throwing picks, during the 2-minute drill.
Right.
And so I think if they had won those close games and he had a better record as a quarterback, I think he'd be getting a lot more like accolades and praise, kind of like Burrow is getting. But
right.
I think because they lost so many games his rookie season, it's just kind of like people, I don't know. I just think I hear a lot of people down on him, but I would take him. If you're in a 2-quarterback dynasty league and you're drafting this year, initial draft, I'd have no problem taking him first overall. Well,
right.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. No, third overall. I
Third
take
overall?
Mahomes, and I would take Josh Allen and Mahomes.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think right now his ADP right now, he's going in like 39th, 40th.
In a standard redraft league?
Yeah, in a standard league, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
10-team league?
I don't know.
Okay. But
I was just looking at it. I was just trying to get some more information in here to help us with our decisions. But I think and it's one of the reasons why last year I tried to try to get 2 first rounders back to back so I can get Mahomes and Allen.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can get, Herbert and, maybe even but if he's your first guy, that's not bad. And hey, we had one guy in our team, one league, he had Joe Burrow and Herbert. And unfortunately, he didn't. He got kind of exited kind of quickly.
He had a strong team though.
He did.
But here's the thing too. After my top 4 guys, I'm not really in love with the rest of the list.
No,
I don't know how
it
do you
was
feel
kind
about
of
it?
interesting going through that because I was looking at it and like, I'm like in Dynasty, like, do I want any of these guys? You
Really?
know, it's like, so all right. So mine was Joe Burrow, yours was Herbert. Who's your next guy?
Who do you think?
I'm going to say Joe Burrow.
Correct.
All right, and
All
mine's
right.
Herbert.
All right. So enough said. I mean, Burrow, I like Burrow. They need to just beef up the O-line, but for them to get to where they got this year with that O-line, I mean, that's a dangerous team.
I mean, you just watched that Tennessee game and like he's getting sacked, what, 7, 8 times?
Yeah.
Did he get sacked 9 times in that game or was it 6?
I don't remember, but
it was just insane. And like,
Yeah.
he still won.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that O-line. And that's even is more amazing with Mixon too. Like, how can that O-line be so bad, but him produce as well as he did?
That's right.
So do they just not know how to pass block? Like, do they just have run blockers that like, that's all they know how to do is like, or
I almost wonder, well, I don't know what their sizes are, but I also wonder what the communication is like because the offensive line, it's a lot of it is communication and a lot of it is
True.
Them almost working as one body together.
Right.
Almost
especially but running, you would think running would be the same thing, but I guess maybe it's not as complex there. Maybe the passing schemes are more complex or something.
I just think I think it's like for every offensive line that's been top of the line, A+ offensive lines, the commentary that I've heard about those lines is that there's camaraderie, there's communication. The health has to be there so that they can work and put the time in together. But it's almost like they become one person, the 5 of them.
Right.
And there's just an intuition, a lot like a quarterback might have with a wide receiver or a tight end, where they just are reading things and they know what to do and they're all working in unison. Could be coaching.
Could
be a coaching issue.
Yeah. Maybe maybe they need to switch up their offensive line coach.
So, all right. So those are the top 4 solid. I mean,
yeah.
You can build your team, your dynasty team around that. And you're not going to get much more consistency. Like you don't get much more consistent than these 4 guys. So I wouldn't have a problem taking them as I'm looking at like the running backs. There's really maybe 1, 2, 3. There's 4 running backs that I would take ahead of these guys. And,
so you have number 1 pick in an overall startup league in Dynasty. You're going with a running back or
with one quarterback?
2 quarterback.
Oh, 2 quarterbacks? I'm going quarterback.
Okay. Because
in a 2 quarterback league, you need 4 quarterbacks on your team.
At least.
For bye weeks and injuries. So if you don't start with quarterback, I mean, that guy that you pick, he better be somebody that you can count on. Because by the time it comes back around to you, there's a good chance that the top 10 quarterbacks are gone.
Right. You'll be in an honorable mention pile.
Yeah. All right. So for number 5, I think you have Kyler Murray.
Okay. I think you have Kyler Murray for number 5.
Okay. Am I correct?
Nope. Dak Prescott.
Oh man, that surprises me, but you are correct. I do have Kyler Murray as my number 5. Very interesting. Dak Prescott, huh?
Yes.
Tell me more about that, because he's not somebody that I've ever heard you really talk favorably about, if at all.
Yes. I am not a Dak Prescott fan per se, but I because I basically knew who my top 4 was going to be. And then I started looking at who do I trust in the next half.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? Dak really made a good jump from the 2020. I mean, obviously being injured and everything like that, up to 2021. Seems like he's more healthy. Seems like he's getting a good rapport with the wide receivers. I mean, yeah, they might lose Galloway, but maybe they'll re-sign him or not. But maybe they can add somebody else in. I think he's going to get better next season, improve from this season onward. And he's still only 29 years old. I mean, that's still not that bad. You get him, what are they? The ADP on him right now, 61. So that's just a standard. So if you maybe cut it in half for a two, you get Burrow and Prescott, or maybe even Mahomes and Prescott. I mean, that's a pretty decent 1-2 punch there, I think.
Well, here's a question. This brings up a question in my mind. Even though you have him ranked at number 5, in real life, who do you think would be chosen before him, dropping him to, maybe 8th or 9th or 10th? Like, who popular opinion might cause the people to pick who?
Kyle Murray, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson,
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah, probably Aaron Rodgers, Pickett, Lawrence, Malik Willis,
Jalen Hurts,
Trey Lance. Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Yep.
Matt Stafford.
I could see those guys getting picked before him.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think in terms of fantasy production, they're worth it.
I honestly don't think that Stafford or Hurts would get picked before Prescott, but I think Aaron Rodgers could.
Yeah.
And then the other guys you mentioned, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. So there is a chance that if you're drafting, let's say 4th or 5th in the first round, Prescott makes it back to you in the second.
Right. So you could have Herbert or Prescott or Burrow or Prescott.
Yeah, and that's not too shabby.
No, it's not. That's a good 1-2 punch.
Bear this in mind too. Even in a two QB league, most people, unless they're experienced, but I don't think most people are going to think this way. They're going to bring a standard league mentality to the draft. And so you're going to have running backs and wide receivers going probably a little earlier than they should.
Yeah, especially if it's a startup. I mean, you have guys like, there's a lot of stuff that I learned from last year's startup to this year that I would make changes and everything. So I think definitely, and I try to go into it thinking less of a restart league and trying to get.
I'm curious, what would you do differently?
I think just evaluate guys differently. Like I don't think I would have taken Pitts as high as I did.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have taken more wide receivers and I think I would have gone more with the younger quarterbacks than just going with the rookies a little bit. Like, so there's a couple of things that I was kind of looking at it and going, yeah, I don't know.
Right. Because you went Mahomes, Lawrence, Pitts, and then the Rams defense Damian Harrison, Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, so and if you look at who I missed and who I passed up on, who other people passed up on too.
Well,
but,
yeah, we all did it.
You know what I'm saying? Like and that's, I think if maybe just having a better, not knowing, obviously hindsight's always 2020, but I think just having a better game plan, maybe.
I'm such a hypocrite. I'm talking about people who aren't experienced going into it with a with a standard draft mindset.
Yep.
Even in a 2 QB league.
Yep.
Well, we have a 2 QB plus a super flex. So
right.
And my first 2 picks were running backs, Dalvin Cook and Antonio Gibson.
So see, I think, you know, you kind of looking back on it and going like, yeah, you know what? I think I would have done this a little differently.
And then I took Prescott and then Chris Carson. You know, yeah, oh yeah, there's a lot I would have done differently, but
yeah. And again, that hindsight's always 2020, but like, you know, even doing this now and getting ready for another year, and it kind of just makes you reevaluate what you could have done and looking at guys differently. Because both of us have always played fantasy. You've even played other Dynasty, but it just, call it brain fart, call it whatever, but
it's crazy. So all right, so let's move on here. And
so you had Kyler Murray.
Oh, I had Kyler Murray. He's kind of a binky of mine. I do like him. I've liked him since his rookie year.
Yep.
And somehow he's not on any of my teams. But I have noticed a trend the last 2 seasons.
Reason for that.
you and I, and this is a lesson in making a gutsy move. Sometimes you got to make a really tough move. It's emotional and you got to cut the emotions out of it. I made a trade in another league halfway through, not this past season, but the season before. I traded Kyler Murray for Eckler. You know, those were the key guys in the deal.
Yep.
And it tore my heart out because I just loved him. I love watching him.
Right.
And it was about halfway through the season. And from the moment I traded him, like he had put up like a 40-point game, 37-point game. And from the moment I traded him, he tanked for the rest of the season. And then he got hurt.
Right.
And he was a total bust the second half of the season. And then that repeated itself again last year to some degree. And so at number 5, like you can't ignore his tools and his skills.
Yep.
You just hope that maybe he stops running so much early in the season. Yeah, maybe it cuts down your fantasy points maybe by 5 points a game from him, but he can last all season for you.
Which would be nice, because I think that's the biggest knock on him right now is just he just hasn't been able to do it. It's just like he always continues to excel that first half of the season or so and then just tank that second half. And it's like,
because here
is it the running? Is it the throwing? Is it just his mindset of not staying in the games? Like he starts getting bored or something like.
So you check these numbers out from weeks 1 to 7, 41, 39, 18, 26, 15, 33, 27. And then from weeks 8 to 12, 12 being a bye week, it was 9 points, 0, 0, 0, then the bye. Okay. Oof. All right. And then weeks 13 to 18, 34, 17, 14, 23, 26, 19. Pretty slightly above average.
Yeah.
Slightly above average. But I mean, you could see like Derek Carr putting up those types of numbers or Ryan
right.
Tannehill.
Yeah. And you're not taking him 5th overall.
No. And that's when you need him the most. And so there is that concern. But it's like you're at the end of the first round with a 2-quarterback league, and Kyler Murray's still sitting there.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to get him plus another high, like take your pick. You could get Kelsey. You could get a top wide receiver. I mean, you're going to be able to get probably Jefferson or Devontae Adams or Jamar Chase at the turn. So, or you could get another quarterback.
Right. And I know, and it's tough because it's like, if you go into Kyle Murray, you kind of know already, like, I'm going to have to punt a bunch of games. Like, you almost need 5 quarterbacks when you have him on your team because it's like, because he's going to have to fill in. So this is interesting.
Have you said your number 5 yet? I don't think
that was
you have.
Dak.
Oh, Dak was your number 5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on to number 6, man, I'm going to have to keep guessing the same guy.
I think me and you are going to actually have the same guy on number 6. I think.
Okay. So Lamar.
You're guessing Lamar for me?
Yeah.
All right. I'm guessing Matthew Stafford for you.
Okay. I do not have Matthew Stafford.
And I do not have Lamar.
And so we do not have the same guy.
All right.
I have Lamar.
You have Lamar. Okay.
Yeah. Who do you have?
Matthew Stafford, actually.
Makes sense, since you would think that you thought that we'd had the same guy.
Right.
Okay.
I gotta actually look at Kyle Murray's contract again.
Well,
like, he doesn't have a contract this year.
Yeah.
Going
So
into 2023, because like he's a free agent in 2024, and he's like no contract for like. How is it a 2-year? It's interesting. I have to look that up again.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you have Lamar Jackson.
Correct.
What about Lamar Jackson makes him number 6?
Well, yeah, I mean, he could easily be the top point producer any given year.
True.
He's proven that. So I don't really think that he's a safe pick. He's a real safe pick towards the end of a first round.
Yeah.
To build your team. He's young. He uses his legs. They rely on him. The offense revolves around him. And they're committed. It's a running offense. And he can throw. And he showed that he had chemistry with Marquise Brown this past year. He's got Mark Andrews always. And he's kind of like the goal line back. We'll see how they use Dobbins this year. But
yeah, when he comes back. I hope that kind of does what we're talking about with Josh Allen. That that Lamar won't run it in as much, that won't take those chances, that he could hand it to Dobbins now and have that featured back.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe he'll still use his legs to create, but that, he has that either that outlet that can run out and catch it, or someone who he can just hand the ball off to, and he's not putting himself in harm's way where he can miss games.
So he only had 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 767 rushing yards. He only had 2,800 passing yards, and his TD to interceptions was 16-13.
Oof.
So it's not great numbers.
No.
But from a point standpoint, 22, 34, 21, 21, 50, 13, 25, 36, 17. He missed a game, and then it was 11, 19, and then 1. And then he was not available for the 3 weeks of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
which at only 25 years old, it's like, is he going to turn into Cam Newton, or is he gonna, or having maybe who's the rookie they grabbed? the wide receiver.
Oh, Bateman.
Yeah, having him have a year under his belt, stepping up, having Dobbins coming back, having their tight end, like maybe that might help him and to focus a little bit more that these guys are there. Because I mean, seriously, like there was one point where they were like pulling guys out of the stands because they had so many injuries with some of their play area. I can't think of I think it was running back that got smoked in.
Oh yeah.
But like there was different parts of like their team that just a whole bunch of injuries. So so hopefully that kind of helps him out. I mean, he hasn't been great the last 2 seasons. He was definitely better in 2020 in terms of fantasy production than this year, but maybe when he has, the 2 rookies stepping up and having more season under their belt, he'll help him out.
You know what his ceiling is. So it's very enticing. And if he can come close to that, he doesn't have to hit that. I think he came close to 500 fantasy points, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But
yeah, because he was the number 1 guy a couple of years ago.
But what I'm interested in is tell me about Matt Stafford at number 6.
Well, because like we were talking about earlier, who after that Burrow, Herbert, whatever, do you want? And, it's like, do you want Dak? Do you want Kyler? Do you want Lamar? So Stafford, I mean, he's in that discussion. His fantasy points, I think he was 5th overall in fantasy points.
Well, and here's the thing too, EFO, the consistency. Like he didn't put up like
I think he had one stinker of a game.
Yeah, and then he also, and on the other end, he didn't put up a 40-point game, but he just is 30, 21, 37, 23, 18, 33, 33, 30, 15, 11, 28, 30, 29, 19. And then he did tail off a little bit, 8 points, but then 19, 23. So it's just like, you don't want to have to ride a roller coaster with your guys.
Right.
So
I mean, if you had the number 1 pick overall, you could probably get him.
That's crazy.
In a 12-man team, at number 24.
Yeah. That's
you probably
reasonable.
Could.
Yeah.
So to have Mahomes and Stafford as your 2 starting quarterbacks mixed in, you could even just wait to round 3 and take them 3-1 and take, a wide receiver or whatever.
Yeah.
But to have those 2 guys, and it's like Stafford's not going to hurt you. His, the ceiling and the floor, we know where they are with him. He's going to be consistent, like you just said. And yeah, he's not going to give you any 50-point games, and he might not, but he's not going to hurt you with a lot of, I don't think he had any. Oh yeah. One single digit output against Minnesota.
Dude's tough too.
And he's gonna, no quarterback's perfect. So if you can have that consistency, he's only 34 years old. He still has a few more years, as something you could possibly get in the 3rd round. Yeah, why not?
Think of this too. For Dynasty, so he's 34. If you got 4 more years out of him,
right,
there's so much that can happen. You have 4 drafts after you draft him. So and would you want 4 years of Matthew Stafford, knowing what you're getting, or 4 years of Justin Fields? Good point.
So it's like, yeah, you could take Justin Fields, or you could take Trevor Lawrence, or even Zach Wilson. But like, do you want 4 more years of that, or do you want 4 more years of them? I would rather kind of go with the little bit more of a proven commodity, I should say.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yep. Yep, that's great.
Now, you probably see Pickett getting picked before him in a lot of drafts? Oh yeah. Or even Kyle Willis there? Oh yeah, probably.
Malik Willis.
Malik Willis, like in
Yeah.
probably startup drafts, like you probably will see him get them two get picked before Stafford. But ultimately, in my opinion, it's like, yeah, I don't mind Stafford.
So number seven. Number seven.
I'm gonna go with you, Russell Wilson.
Oh no. No.
All right.
No. In fact, I probably should have had this guy higher. I went with Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Because it's like, I probably would take him over Lamar Jackson when it came down to it. So, but yeah, I mean, he's just, you know what the thing was with him last year because he's on my team too, and he can disappear in some games.
Yeah.
And it lost me at least one game last year where he just didn't show up. I mean, he had two games of single digits. One was a 3-point game. The other was
which is just
7-point
insane.
game.
Like,
I mean, the rest of the weeks were pretty.
Isn't it like a point per 10 or 25 yards?
Yeah.
So it's like you barely threw for 100 yards.
He threw for 216 and 2 picks, no touchdowns.
2 picks. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, like,
but I think we only get -1 for a pick.
Right. So that's why I'm like, how'd you get 3 points? Must have been a lot of negative yards.
I think there was one game where they actually didn't even have no, he had 43 attempts. There was one game where the offense wasn't on the field. Like, it might have been, it's kind of crazy because in week 18, he only had 27 attempts. He put up 41 points with 27 attempts. He put up 3 points with 43 attempts in week 11.
Okay.
But he had 5 touchdowns in that week 18 game for 295 and 5 touchdowns, no picks, as opposed to no touchdowns, 216, 0 and 2. But that's the only thing about him. But he came back from the injury. He looked strong. I watched him in a lot of games. He looked strong. He wasn't taking needless risks when he was extending plays. He wasn't running unnecessarily. I saw the injury the year before live. I was watching that game, and that was
me too. And I looked
gruesome, very gruesome.
Yes.
I mean, for him he was crying. I'm sure for the physical pain, but also from his interviews. I mean, he was crying just because he knew.
Yeah,
he knew his season was done. But that was my number 7. So I think for you, I mean, killing me here, kid. I'm just gonna say Justin Lawrence. What's his name?
Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields? Maybe if we did combine them, they'd be a good player. No.
Right. Put him on the Patriots and he can get some coaching. Yep. Trevor Lawrence.
Kyle Murray.
Okay, yeah, of course. So you have anything to add on Kyler Murray?
I kind of wish I had put him lower. I just don't trust him. Yeah, I really don't. Okay. I'm like,
right. Okay. You've kind of gone like this with him since I've known you.
Yeah.
He was kind of like up here with like a few reservations, and like over the year, it's just he's gone down.
Yeah, I just don't trust the guy, but I can't ignore his potential either. So I'll put him in the list just to put him in the list, but I don't know if at any point would I actually draft him. But I'll put him in the list because, I mean, theoretically, is he a top 10? Yeah, I would say yes. Would I have him in any of my top tens, like me like drafting him. No.
So let me ask you this. The top 6 quarterbacks on your list are gone. You need a quarterback, a QB1. Who would you actually be taking ahead of him? Would you take Aaron Rodgers ahead of him?
Possibly. And just be like,
Well,
yeah,
I mean, you got 30 seconds on the clock. The seconds.
no, I know, but like,
Which-
I'm sure by then I would be like, okay, this is what I'll take. This is what I'll do. I'll look at who, or it's that. So Stafford's already gone. Yeah, I don't. Running back.
I mean, would you take Mac Jones ahead of him?
See, that's a good question. I probably would. But I guess it depends. Like if it's the first round, no. Like if all of a sudden, like everyone just went quarterback heavy and I'm looking at like, the 12th pick and, the top quarterbacks are already gone. And for whatever reason, Kyle Murray's sitting there. Yeah, I'm going Justin Jefferson. Like I'll just suck it up with that. And I don't know. I don't think I'd do it.
A lot of it is just feeling good about your draft, not doing what you think you should do. So if I'm at 12 and if there's been a quarterback run,
Yep.
and Chase and Jefferson are sitting there,
yeah,
I mean, I feel so much better about taking those two guys than like a Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers, duo
right.
to build my team around.
And because I just
I'll
don't
trade,
trust the guy.
because all right, fine. I take those two guys, comes back to me, and now I'm looking at the 15th, 16th best quarterback as my QB1. It comes back to you, and now you are looking at Derek Carr, Tannehill, maybe guys that do have some upside, like a Fields, a Zach Wilson, a Trey Lance, but a lot of question marks.
Matt Ryan.
I keep calling him Justin Lawrence, Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
Matt Ryan. Yeah. Do you even pass on them again at the end of the third and into the fourth? You say, you know what? I'm going to go running back tight end, or I'm going to go wide receiver running back.
Yeah, no, seriously, because like at that point, what's the value? Where you're actually going to be getting your fantasy points from at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you going to get it from a Ryan Tannehill, or is that number 2 tight end going to help you better? Because you didn't get Kelsey or you didn't get Andrews, right? Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so the number three overall tight end, like you get him, like he's going to help you a lot more than the 15th or 16th best quarterback, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, but I think I would actually probably let it ride again.
Yeah, I think I would too. I mean, because even the running backs might be thin at that point. So you're like, you know what? We got to start 3 wide receivers anyway. I'm going to go wide receiver and get like a George Kittles,
Yeah. Which I think would get you more than enough points to cover your Ryan Tannehill, David Carr, Zach Wilson's.
Because really, what's the difference? What's the point difference going to be between Derek Carr, Tannehill? They're probably going to be around 300 points, fantasy points, maybe a little less even, compared to the number 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd quarterback. Now you're looking at maybe some of the rookies, like a Pickett or a Willis. Maybe I feel a lot better if I know that Pickett and Willis have starting jobs.
Right, exactly.
I'll take them in the 5th and 6th round.
Yep. And roll the dice on them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you see your Kyle Murray had 297. Kirk Cousins was 295. Tannehill was 272 and 258. So Jalen Hurts did better than Kyle Murray. He was 312.
Okay.
So it's like I would almost rather have. I would definitely pick Hurts over Kyle Murray.
Yeah. I intentionally did not mention him because I figured you would.
Yeah. But I mean, do I have to at least admit that Kyle Murray is a top 10 fantasy quarterback? Yes. When he is on, his ceiling is very high. But someone else can have him.
Okay. So for number eight, I think you took Jalen Hurts.
All right. I think you went with Russell Wilson.
Okay. So you were incorrect.
Okay.
I went with Aaron Rodgers.
See, I was going to say him, but
yeah, I felt it. I could feel it. I was like,
yeah.
I was waiting for the words to come out of your mouth. Like I saw it in your eyes.
Yeah.
Who'd you go with?
Lamar Jackson.
Okay. Makes sense. Aaron Rodgers, the thing with Aaron Rodgers is you have to remember that he sat his first 4 years.
Right.
So like how old was he when he finally started playing? 26? 25?
Maybe even a little older. Yeah.
So you can't really look at his age. He's shown that his health is fine.
Right.
And so again, when he's locked in, I did say in another episode that I have no problem passing over him, but when the guy's locked in, he's going to put up huge numbers.
Right. And so with him, it's kind of like, you know what you're going to get, and you've seen it like 100 times. And yet somehow that's still not good enough for us. Sometimes in fantasy.
He's also very consistent. I mean, he put up, so his first game of the season, he put up a point. All right.
Yep.
So then you're looking at it and you're like, what did I do drafting this guy? And then he
38 years old. Wow.
So, I mean, I could see him playing into his 40s.
Yeah, he has at least another couple more, 2 or 3 more years.
But then it's 34, 23, 28, 23, 27, 30, 19. So like just ultimate consistency. And he threw one pick in those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. He threw one pick. And then he missed a game, and then it was 10 points, 41, 30, 37, 29, 25, 24, 18. And again, he only threw one pick the rest of the season. So
I think that's why he ended up winning the MVP.
I mean, that's outrageous.
I mean, 4 interception the whole season. It's pretty.
So you really 37 TDs, 4,000 passing yards, 4 interceptions. Rushing touchdowns, he had 3 on the season in addition. So he yielded 40 touchdowns for you and 4 picks. So
which that's you would take that every day.
Yeah. And he's not going to go in the first half of the first round.
No, you'll be able to get him second half, second round, maybe even third.
Yeah.
But of course he moves and leaves depending on where he goes.
You know that he's not going to go into a rebuilding situation. He's going to go where he's going to have the weapons around him.
Yeah, he's going to try to pull a Brady.
And he is going to make everyone around him better.
Right. So you have Denver.
Which would be an awesome, I mean,
yeah,
with their receivers.
They have a good defense and they have a decent offense. You have Pittsburgh. Their defense isn't that great, but they have a phenomenal offense.
But the O line's not that great.
No. Even Carolina. He
I
goes
don't
down
love
to
that.
Carolina. Yeah, but I mean, they have a decent offense. They have a decent defense. It's better than Houston or the Saints.
Right.
I mean, he could go to Tampa.
I really like Denver. I like Denver as the
Denver is probably the best spot. Denver, Washington would be interesting.
It would,
because their defense is pretty good. I think they had a few injuries this year. I mean, with Young being out pretty much the whole season, that really hurt them. And I think there was a couple other guys, but their offense is pretty decent. And so I think him going there, that would help them out a lot too.
Yeah, I think you'd see Terry McLaurin absolutely explode. And you know who, a rookie last year, De'Ami Brown. He had a lot of hype for him around him going into the season, and then he did nothing during the season. But I could see him actually emerging with Rodgers there.
Definitely, yeah, because he would definitely make them all better.
Yeah. You'd probably see Antonio Gibson's reception numbers increase.
Right. Because that's what he's used to. He's used to having Jones. He's used to having that strong number one, which McLaurin would be that. And then he would have his outlets, which Brown would fit nicely. So there we go. We have him three spots for him.
I like Washington too. That'd be a good. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Denver, Washington, Pittsburgh. Those are the three I'll say.
Who I like Pittsburgh because of the receiver. I mean, with Deontay Johnson and Claypool, and then you got Harris as your pass catching running back. I mean, that's that.
And Freiermuth.
And you took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, they might lose Schuster, which is it really a loss? But
I actually think it makes things less confusing if he was to go somewhere else. It almost felt too crowded with the three of them.
Well, because they also had Washington too.
Yeah. Who
they'd mix in there. So it's like you almost had like a 5-man rotation, and there was like, I think three is your studs, and then a couple other guys in the backup, but we'll see.
Okay. Tell me about, do you have anything to say about Lamar in addition to what we talked about?
No, I think he could improve. And I don't know if it's a contract thing with him too. I know they're looking to extend him, and I know they probably don't want to. I think he's in his last year of his contract as well. I think he's owed $23 million this season against the cap, which is just insane. So I don't know if that's part of what he was thinking about last year or something, and he feels like he needs to live up to that. But I think having the rookie step up, having Dobson step back in, I think it's going to help solidify. I think they need a little bit more help on the offensive line, but he's proven he can still do it. And like you said, he can throw.
Yeah.
I feel like, I've watched a few more games of him with his throwing, and it's like, he can throw. Like he's a better thrower than, and I think that still is the problem with him a little bit, is that I don't know how much of a passer he is. He's more of a thrower, but I think he still has a lot of potential. I mean, the kid's only still 25 years old.
Yeah.
He's still got a lot of potential.
And he's got a good head coach. That's a key factor.
Yeah. I mean, and Baltimore is a decent run organization too. Like, they look at needs, they address needs. It's not like they just sit there and say, well, we need offensive line. Oh, quick, let's go get a kicker.
Yeah.
like they'll address the needs the best they can.
Okay, number 9. I'm gonna say you went Mac Jones.
Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna say you went Russell Wilson.
No. I went Matt Stafford.
Okay.
Who'd you go with?
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's not getting any love from me, so I'm just going to tell you that for number 10. He's not even in my honorable mentions.
You said Mac Jones. I totally forgot all about him. He's not even in my honorable mentions. Like,
well, that's easy to do considering you live in New England.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I love Stafford. I feel bad for him that his career was wasted in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think he could have probably won 2 or 3 more, 1 or 2 more championships if he was with another, obviously. Like, oh man. I remember Aaron Rodgers saying about him, because they were in the same division for so long. I think he was on Pat McAfee, but he was just like, someone that gets overlooked is Matt Stafford. He's like, that dude, I've seen him in so many games. He does stuff that not many guys can do, and he just does not he gets overlooked. He's underrated. Like, that dude is a stud. And for Aaron Rodgers to say that,
Yeah.
and then just watching some of his best games as a Lion, I was like, wow, this dude can play. Like, he's really good. He's just been in a bad organization. So
that was the biggest thing with him, his organization, because I don't think did they ever have a defense the whole time he was there?
No.
Because I remember he would put up like 5,000 yards, like pretty consistently, 4,000 or 5,000 yards. I mean, he had playmakers on the offense, but like they'd still be blown out like 35, 28.
Right.
So it's like, okay, yeah, like I'm throwing up all these numbers, but you need to stop them at least once.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I'm trying to think. I mean, there might have been one year where I do remember, I think when Megatron was on the team, like they actually did have a balanced team, but it didn't last very long.
No.
So that's Stafford. I think as long as he's a Ram, which probably he's going to end his career there.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, there's just got a great situation there with the coach, the receivers, just the running backs, the offensive line, the defense. It's just a well-balanced team. So I see him putting up really good numbers for the next 4 years, 5 years.
Easily. Yeah. So Wilson, again, I don't want to completely sell out on him. This season, I think it was a really down season for him. I mean, you got to remember last season, he was in the talk of MVP pretty much towards like the 3/4 waypoint. And then he kind of dipped off. But I mean, he was in the conversation last year as well. I mean, he was the 6th best quarterback in fantasy last year. I mean, yeah, he dropped down to 16 this year. I'm going to say this year is more of a fluke.
Okay.
And that he can bounce back. It might be time for him to move on.
Yeah, I think that's true.
That might be more than anything. And some guys, they can produce and some guys can't, like Rodgers, even Brady. Well, no, not even so much Brady, because even when Brady was in New England, like, his last 2 seasons when he was in New England, like people thought he was just done.
Yeah.
And that was partly because of the talent around him and just being there too long. And then he moved on and look what happened. And Stafford, a lot of people thought he was done. He moved on. Look what happened. Russell, it might be the same thing for him. It might just be time to move on and have him go to Denver or Washington.
Mhm.
And
Kind of
I don't know.
rejuvenate.
Yeah, I don't know what they'd have to give up to get that to
Yeah.
happen, but you saw what the Rams did getting Stafford. If you can get that, hey, why
Mhm.
not?
Mhm.
Even if it's for a couple of seasons.
Yeah. So number 10,
Mac Jones.
what's it? Mac Jones?
You went Mac Jones, right?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. I'm going to cause you some pain with this pick.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts.
All right.
And I think that you went with, I do think you went with Trey Lance.
No,
Okay.
I actually went with Trevor Lawrence.
You did. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I did not guess any of yours correctly.
Sorry.
Man, thought I knew you better than that. Guess not. So, all right.
Well, yeah.
Tell me about Trevor and number
Trevor,
10.
I'm giving him one more season
Oh, all right.
kind of thing. Like,
Okay.
he definitely has the talent
Mm-hmm.
to be a decent starting quarterback. I don't know. The talent around him is okay, but I think they need to. And so I think they need the offensive line, which I think they're going to address that in the draft. I think their first pick is going to be an offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully Mr. Quarterback whisperer there can come in and rejuvenate Lawrence like he did with Wentz and Feely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And was it Feely? AJ Feely? He was on the Philadelphia when McPherson was there.
Okay.
I think it was
back.
it was Wentz
Foles?
and Foles.
Foles.
Yeah.
Okay. AJ
Foles.
Feely.
Yeah.
Well, Jay Feely was a kicker.
I don't know who AJ Feely is. He might have been one of my Madden creations. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure that there's someone out there named AJ Feely. But
Yeah, I'm sure too. And so he's in a position now where I think they're going to work at getting him to succeed. But I'm going to give him one more chance as the number one overall, just at the number 10. Like he almost made it into the unmentionables. No, the honorable mentions. But I'm going to give him that one chance to see. I mean, he's only 23, 22 years old. He put up 200 points, which, I mean, Kyle Murray put up 297. I mean, it's only 90 points difference. But
yeah. No,
I'm just going to hope. I'm going to see if how he does this year. I'm going to give him one more year.
Okay.
At least.
I'll be making offers for him right around end of November.
And depending on how he's doing, you might get those offers. Or you might.
So
why not?
with Hurts, I drafted Hurts last year and he produced points, so he's not in the most consistent, I guess, but I think he's going to get better. And I think for someone that you're going to get probably at the end of the second round, beginning of the third round in a 12-team league, he makes a solid QB2.
Right.
So those are our 10 honorable mentions.
Who do you have?
I basically have last year's rookie class. I got Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones. Mac Jones being the top presently, but I also see Trey Lance and Fields, probably Trey Lance first and then Fields.
Yep.
And then Zach Wilson, just because he's not in a very good organization. But those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah, I didn't even include Jones in my honorable mentions. I think because just I guess when I think of quarterbacks producing points, I think he's a better real life
That's true.
quarterback
Yeah.
than I think a fantasy quarterback right now.
Yeah, I would.
So
agree
I
with
guess
that.
that's kind of why. Because when you mentioned him, I'm like, yeah, why didn't I talk about it? So I had to think about it. I'm like, yeah, I think I just figure him as a better real life quarterback than a fantasy guy.
Yeah.
So my honorable went Hurts, Lance, Mills,
Oh, good one.
and Pickett and Willis.
Okay.
Because I think they're going to be drafted higher than probably what they should be, especially in startup dynasties. Because I think they're going to go to places that that will need a quarterback, and they'll probably start day one. And, you know, if you can get a Mac Jones type of player in one of these guys in terms of fantasy production, great. If you get a Fields, maybe you have to wait one more year. But that's the thing with Dynasty.
Yeah.
You're in for the long haul. So that's kind of what I went with the two rookies on that one. Mills, I think he's going to surprise.
Yep.
He kind of stepped up a little bit more towards the end of last season. I think he might surprise. It'll definitely, day 2 of the draft is where you're going to see if Houston actually believes in Mills or not. Because if they take a quarterback, then it's like, okay, they're not 100% sure.
Yep.
They're okay with it. They addressed other needs in the first round, but
That's true. That's a good point. So that is the top 10 quarterbacks going into next year. Next week, we're going to be doing the top 10 tight ends.
That's right.
And check us out on all our platforms. Search Dynasty Road on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Instagram being the most active of our other platforms. And
especially with tomorrow starting the combine.
Yes, I'm sure you will have some interesting content there. And be sure to comment on this video, subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode.
See ya.